I was hungry, you gave me something to eat.
I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink.
I was a stranger and you invited me in.
I needed clothes and you clothed me.
I was sick and you took care of me.
I was in prison and you visited me.
Mattaw was started out of a lot of heartache and a lot of trial and error, really. We started out in an orphanage, more in a rural village, and there was like 50 children in one building with 25 boys in one room and 25 girls in the other room with 2 house moms that would rotate shifts. And so it was through just seeing these kids in this other orphanage, just the pain that they would go through. Like a lot of them in the village, when they would go out, would be called orphans. And they'd come home after church and all of them would just cry. And so it was just really sitting with the kids and hearing them say, like, we don't want to be called orphans, like we hate that status. And we could just sense that them opening up and sharing that was really a cry from orphans all around the world of not wanting to be labeled that anymore.
I came to Kenya in 2006, July of 2006, after Kimberly had already been in Africa for a year. For me, it was just like I wanted to hang out with kids. Like that's always been my passion in life, is to be hanging out with kids and playing with kids and just doing ministry for kids. And so I just wanted to hang out and play and mentor and disciple and just whatever I could do, being a helping hand. And then come a few months later after I've been here, just seeing just the great need that Kenya has and Africa has, where there's these generations that are being raised up without moms or dads.
As we began to seek the Lord and just hear from his heart, like how did he want Mattaw to look like? One by one, step by step, he began to show us that we needed to step completely away from an institutional style orphanage and create a village. And that's where we came up with Mattaw Children's Village.
They have this proverb, this saying in Africa that it takes a village to raise a child. And so we had this idea of just modeling after and making it like a village. So you have all these individual home groups that are around with mom and dad and along with the children inside. And then also they have neighbors, so it just comes together as a village. So it works better that way when you have the school on site, you have the church on site. It's every need is met in this one big area. If a kid's not going to be an orphan, then they can never grow up in an orphanage. So we always tell people that Mattaw is not an orphanage. We're a children's village. We're a children's home where we take care of kids. Kids who are former orphans, as soon as they walk in that gate, that label and that mantle is totally broken off of them, and they come in to the family and they know that they have a family now.
It was very unique ways that Holy Spirit would lead us to children. We were starting to connect with other organizations that would take street kids in and rehabilitate them back into their families. But they started coming across orphans that could not be rehabilitated back into families, maybe because the parents had died and all the relatives had abandoned these kids, or a lot of times there's just a lot of extreme abuse in the cases that we bring in, where it's just not a safe environment for these kids to go back to. We have a social worker, Humphrey, and he's been very key in finding cases for us. So sometimes he would go into villages that were referred to him by chiefs of that area, and then he would tell us about them.
What attracted me to Mattaw was these were people who are coming in to help kids who have been rejected. You know, in the African culture, the relatives used to take care of the children, the orphans. But now, in our case, orphans are a burden to those that are behind. So these people came in and I felt this is the right place to go.
We just really kept hearing the Father say, like, he wants to restore what a father looks like in the family, and so that these children grow up knowing, like, what a father, a godly man looks like, so that they have a role model as they grow up.
The family setup or the family groups within Mattaw is, like we said, we want to start start a whole new generation of kids of knowing what a healthy family looks like, what a godly mother and a godly father look like. We want to have each family group where they take their dinners at night together, they have their breakfast together, but it's a place where they can come home at night, they do their chores together, they take time, they sing, they do worship, they do praying, and they do their devotion every night as a family. We have 6 boys and 6 girls into a house along with a set of Kenyan house parents, and so they operate within as a family unit. The boys have a room, the girls have a room, the house parents have their own room. There's a kitchen and also bathrooms together with a dining room and a seating area, and so it's just like a complete family unit.
My responsibility as a house parent, as a house dad, is to raise the leaders of tomorrow. And by so doing, we lay a strong Christian foundation whereby these kids are going to change the village, community, and the country at large. We thank God that it has really materialized. Like the older kids, they take care of the young ones. They wash clothes. You know, like when one is hurt, you'll see them taking care of the others. So we can see leadership in them.
And that's the idea and vision of Mattaw, is that we want to uproot these kids out of poverty and disease and sickness, and we want to plant them into the kingdom of God so they would grow up and become oaks of righteousness. They would really become Mattaw, which just means a planting or a garden of the Lord out of Isaiah 61.
Praise him upon the high-sounding cymbals. Let everything that hath breath praise the Lord.
I lived with my mom, and our family was very poor. We lived with a stepfather. He was so cruel and unkind to us, and he always beat my mom. Nighttime, when we go inside the house to sleep, he abused me sexually, and before I told my mother, he continued doing that to me. And so sometimes later I told her, and she took me to the doctor, and he called the police to come and arrest my dad. I went to police station to register my case. Then the Baba Bad and Mama Kim came and took me and brought me in Mattaw. When I arrived at Mattaw, I was 12 years old. They took me to school because I've never been in school before, and I enjoyed reading, like studying English language and enjoying other things, and I like the SC curriculum that we are doing now. I enjoyed doing it, and that taught me how to be a Christian. I live in Haustery, and Haustery is my family. They showed me the love that I have never been shown, and I enjoyed staying with the little kids of Haustery and the bigger ones, and also with the parents. God has brought me from far. He has really blessed my life, and everything I'm doing now, it's because of the Lord, and I know that He's taking me more further, and now I know I am a child of God. I am loved because I have a father. I am no longer an orphan because I have my Father in heaven who really loves me.
As Mattaw began to progress and we kept bringing in all kinds of kids that are coming from different areas, different walks of life, and just different situations, we learned that the schooling that we were doing for the kids couldn't just be the generalized school that we were doing. We started originally having our own school here on site using the Kenya curriculum. But when we started getting kids that would come in and they'd be 12 or 13 years old and they'd never been to school before because they were the house servant to their family or whoever was taken care of, it was kind of hard to put a 12-year-old in kindergarten or first grade and the teacher would be able to focus on the other children without them. And so then in 2012, we actually found out about and then established at Mattaw doing the ACE curriculum, which is Accelerated Christian Education, which allows our kids to not only get a good education, but also get a Christian education. Every bit of the schoolwork they do is Bible-based. It gives them certain characters and moral characteristics that they'll pick up through everything. So they not only are they growing vocabulary and learning things about around the world like an international school would teach them, but we're also giving them that core identity that everything that we do, no matter what sphere we have, it's all about Christ, be it business or running a school or even taking care of your home. And it's just great to see our kids just just feel like they know that they can do something with their life. A lot of kids from the outside, from impoverished areas, you don't go to high school if your family doesn't have money. And so a lot of them, they don't even try through their last years of primary school because they think, well, nobody's going to pay for it, so how am I going to go? And so for our children, they know that their education is taken care of, that they're going to go as far as they can go. For us, a part of our sponsorship program is that we're supposed to be putting money back every month, savings for each kid that goes into a future education fund. We learned from a lot of children's homes, when a kid turns 18, they just kind of say, well, we can't take care of you anymore, so it's time for you to go. And the problem with this is the kid grew up their whole life inside of a children's home, and they were given all their food, they were given all their education, and so now you want to throw them into the world, and they have nothing. They have no inheritance. They have no one to take care of them, no one to show them how to live life. And so for us, we want our kids to know that they do have an inheritance. That's one part about not being an orphan, is that you do have an inheritance. You're very rich in the Lord and His kingdom. But we want to put this money back in savings so that each month we've actually set up a foundation in the U.S. which people can donate to and put money into that as it's being built up and grown, so that every one of our kids will have the opportunity to go to a technical school, to go to a college, or go to university. And even if they can't do any of those things, that we'd even be able to buy them a piece of land or start them a business or something that they can do with their life.
When Eric first came to us, he was brought to us by a neighbor here at Mattaw, and she had actually met him in a hospital in Kitale town. He was not getting better in this hospital, and so she had heard about Mattaw, and the doctors were asking if someone could take him. Because of his condition, he was not able to walk at the time. His feet were swollen, his eyes were swollen. We later found out it was a form of malnutrition, so we rushed him to a hospital, and they were able to care for him and immediately treat him. So after he was getting strong in this hospital, he began to walk a little bit. So we brought him home, and he was so happy to be at our house. Once he recovered, then we were able to start bringing him out to Mattaw to get schooling, and it was the first time he was able to do school. When he was in our house, we had given him a pencil to see what he would do with it, and he didn't even know how to hold a pencil, like he had never seen. And so slowly by slowly, he began to write and learn letters and really advanced quick. Thankfully, with the curriculum that we have at Mattaw, since he was so far behind by the time he started school, with the paces, he was able to catch up a lot quicker. And now he's definitely one of our smartest kids at Mattaw. Last year, he was actually top of his class. He's learned English, coming to us as just knowing his mother tongue, his tribal language, and now he knows Swahili and he knows English. And he's very active in sports. When he first came to us, like I said, he couldn't walk. But when we moved him to Mattaw, he was still walking slowly, and then eventually he started to really want to learn to run.
When I will be grown up, I like to be pilot, but now I like to run or playing rugby. That's my favorite game.
Through Eric's story, we've seen just one miracle after another, definitely through education, as he's one of our smartest kids, and then also through behavior, through growing in a relationship with Jesus, and just being a leader, being one of the first kids to respond when help is needed. And so we believe that one of the main reasons is definitely he was placed in a family out here where he has a mother and a father and siblings, and knows how loved and accepted he is, and that he is a child that's cared for and accepted. We started a girls' home called Kimboleo, which is the Swahili name for refuge. We started it in 2012, and it's a home that is a refuge for girls that have been rescued out of extreme physical or sexual abuse. We felt like God was saying to create an environment where they could feel safe and feel loved, and a place where they could heal from the past trauma. So the home itself is on a separate property from Mattaw. We just felt like these girls needed a separate place just to receive healing, at least for 2 or more years, until they could either be transitioned into Mattaw, or from that point, whether they go to a university or college, or we continue with them. A lot of our cases will continue with them for several years. We will work with them to find a skill that they're able to be trained in, whether it's making sweaters or knitting or sewing or doing jewelry, beaded work, just different things that they enjoy doing, that we could give them a skill in life so that eventually they can be able to earn a living on their own and support themselves.
There are 15 girls staying here at Kimberley Girls Home, and I deal with them, counseling, help them whenever they have an issue, teach them basic etiquette, practical lessons in life, biblical teachings.
We really believe in finding moms that love the girls, that really have caught the vision of Kimbolio, and we work with them to train them on inner healing and counseling them so that they themselves can walk with the girls, disciple them. It's a very long journey, which of course God can heal a girl in a day, but some things it just takes walking out daily. One important thing with our girls is that the things we give them is because we love them. Like, they come in with the mindset that they have to do something to earn what they're given. And so like education or food or clothes, they come in with this mindset that they have to earn it. But for them to know, like, no, you're a daughter, like, we love you, you're now part of our family, like, we're committed to you. So that really brings a whole new mindset to these girls, that they really are loved and chosen, especially by God, that He really has a purpose and a destiny for their life.
We make them each and every day believe they're beautiful, each and every day believe they have a purpose, each and every day believe that God still loves them. It doesn't matter. And that's what has really worked so much.
So safe, so safe, so safe. You are so safe, so safe, oh safe. The first time I saw her, I was on Mama Kimberly's camera. She lived with her old grandmother, who was blind because the mother had died. The first time we came to this house, that is when Hawa was brought. Hawa was very tiny, so Mama carried her from the car to the house. She was in a bad state. She was sick. She was malnourished. She didn't know anything. She didn't know how to feed herself. She didn't know how to bathe. She didn't know how to walk. She didn't even know how to communicate. She was unfriendly. So it was very hard for the first time, but we trusted on the Lord for everything. My first time with her was like to have dinner with her. And I didn't know that she didn't know. So I put food on the table and I expected her to eat like any other child. But she poured all the food on the table and others on the floor, and she just started picking from the floor. So that is the time I know that she really needed our help. And so we started working with her slowly, like teaching her how to eat, teaching her how to bathe, teaching her how to walk. Hawa has grown spiritually. She's a good singer. She can sing to the Lord. She can talk about God. And we really thank God because we can see how far the Lord has done to her. She's a big girl now.
You're faithful.
Enda akupe. Sumpeleke. Mpeleke. Ona, chukua hii machungwa.
Part of Mattaw, the vision, originally from years ago, is we wanted to start a baby home. And this baby home would be from babies 0 to 2 years old, or in special cases, we found kids that couldn't walk yet, that were 4 or 5 years old, so they would also go into the baby's home. Our targeted baby are ones that have been abandoned or severely malnourished, and so they would spend their time in the baby's home with, it would be 4 to 5 babies per auntie.
We have 3 aunties, we call them aunties, but they're 3 local Kenyan women who come in and they care for the babies. They each take shifts. So we have one who works overnight, we have one who works during the days, and then we have one who works weekends. So they've been with us since the beginning, so they've kind of become like mamas to these babies.
We have a physical therapist that comes and works with our babies and some of our children at Mattaw. He comes 3 to 4 times a week just to help restore them physically, and we've seen huge improvements in all of our kids. Once they're fully restored or walking, then we would transition them into a home at Mattaw.
And I know here at Mattaw, they know the fullness of walking with Jesus and the fullness of life that comes with that, and the joy and the hope. They have hope here, and that just, it speaks volumes, because so many around here don't have hope, but Mattaw is a place of hope.
So this is baby Moses, and we got him in July of 2013. And Moses was abandoned in the Kitale District Hospital. He was just pushed to a corner in a bed, and the doctors had actually forgot about him. He had been there over a month. When we found him, we unwrapped his blanket and just found him just skin and bones. And the nurse immediately started checking his heart rate. And it was, a baby's heart rate should be around 120, and his was like 58. And so we got him, thankfully we got him out of the hospital and quickly transported him to a better facility. But we believe that God spared his life and has big plans for him. And so we were told he had brain damage in the beginning, which he still has a little bit of. But we've seen like huge miraculous healing in him, where we were told that he might not ever smile or move. And now obviously he's a happy baby.
Whenever we came to Kitale, it wasn't the first place we really wanted to go to. We actually wanted to be further in the north in Turkana because there's such an immense need for the people group there. You have the nomadic people who are almost an unreached people group, and there's just such a great need in not having food, not having health care, not having anything. But we felt the Lord just really impress and show us that we should start a children's home in Kitale. Number one, to raise the bar of what childcare looks like in this area, in this region. And also it's because we wanted to start a model. We never said that once we reach 100 kids we're going to be done. This is basically a model for us that even we can keep reciprocating, and then also other Kenyans and other Africans that we'll come in touch with, that they can also reciprocate this same model all throughout Africa and all throughout the world.
We spend a lot of time equipping our house parents and our older children, and just giving them the tools they need biblically to be restored and healed from all their past, so that they would truly be oaks of righteousness. And then once they've been raised up and restored, then we've been able to give them the vision that they are the ones to go out and be the hands and feet of Jesus, that heal the sick and raise the dead and cast out demons, that they're fully equipped to do every ministry that Jesus did.
They are going to be world changers. No matter what profession they go out in life, whatever they become, it doesn't matter if they're a doctor or if they're a mechanic, but they're going to be a leader in the sphere and the realm of authority that they have and the people around them. And I prophesy and believe over them that we're not going to be known for HIV/AIDS in Kenya and Africa, and we're not going to be known for poverty in Kenya and Africa, and we're not going to be known for corruption But we just believe with this generation that we're going to raise up, that Kenya and Africa in itself is going to be known for the glory and the power of the Lord, that we're going to see great revival break out in these regions, that everyone in the world will turn and look to this place and see what's coming out of this area. And we're going to truly raise up our kids to believe like that. That they really are world changers, that they're going to be culture changers, that everything around them is going to be changed by the way that they're going to live their lives differently than what they were taught or what they were brought up before they came through Mattaw.